have you back, and this is Daybreak African KAFTAN TV on Ondo State. I am Kareen Edet. So on our today's episode, we'll be considering Day of Girl Child, Digital Generation, Our Generation. And we have an activist with us who will be joining us through Skype, and her name is Elisha Dorcas. Good to have you, Dorcas.
Thank you. So good to be here. Thank you so much for having me once again.
Africa once again.
Good morning to you. Thank you for having me.
And of course, it's safe to say Happy New Year. It's been a while.
Of course.
Yeah, it has been a long time.
Now, just before we jump into the Q&A for the day, or rather discussion, I ran upon an article by the United Nations, and quickly, it states nearly 1 in 5 girls are still not completing lower secondary school, and nearly 4 in 10 girls are not completing upper secondary school education today. Around 90% of adolescent girls and young women do not use the internet in low-income countries, while their male peers are twice as likely to be online. Globally, girls aged 5 to 14 spend 160 million more hours every day on unpaid care and domestic work, more than boys of the same age. Adolescent girls continue to account for 3 in 4 new HIV infections among adolescents, and nearly 1 in 4 married partnered adolescent girls aged 15 to 19 have experienced physical or sexual violence from an intimate partner at least once in their lifetime. UN 6 giving girls an opportunity to lead by putting them in the forefront of change efforts, hearing their voices, responding to their ask, and welcoming them in decision-making spaces. At this point, I tend to wonder, is the girl child challenge peculiar to, say, a particular continent, country, or region, or is it more like a challenge, cut across all boards?
Thank you so much, Ezekiel, for that question. And I love the fact that you actually read that report to give us an idea of the statistics of what is really happening. So to answer your question, it is not a continental or a national problem, but it is a global reality. That is what is happening globally. But to further emphasize the importance of why we are here today, is the fact that when we talk about it's a global challenge, but where is it most dominant in? Actually, it is most dominant, those statistics are most dominant in our continent, that is the African continent. When we talk about challenges that the girl child is being faced, or the girl child actually being in a position of disadvantage in terms of access to technology or internet, or access to education, healthcare, or being exposed to domestic violence or early child marriage, I think it's something that is very dominant in our continent. And to further bring it back home, let's bring it back to Nigeria. Because when we're talking about globally, continentally, it's making it look big. If you look at statistics, they'll tell you over 129 million girls are out of school. And which country has the most population of out of school children globally? It is our country. So if you look at that number, even out of the statistic of the out of school children, which gender is most affected is the girls. So let's bring it back home. Even here in our country, Nigeria, we still have that large gap in terms of access to education, in terms of access to opportunity, and the case of early marriage. And these things, sometimes you wonder, where is it coming from? A lot of things actually, there are a lot of factors that are actually contributing to this number. And one of those factors we can say, okay, is the insecurity. Yes, because a lot of, due to the insecurity and attacks on school has rendered a lot of children not to have access to education. That is one. We talk about tradition, religious beliefs, and the like. So there are a lot of factors. So yes, those numbers, as scary as they might sound, they are very correct. And when we bring it back home, it is most dominant in the African continent. And it is sad to say, Nigeria is also being affected by those numbers too.
Now, the African continent is one that has its uniqueness in quotes. We have more developing countries in Africa, and we have challenges cut across board generally. So is it more like the girl child tends to face the same form of challenge every other young adult in countries in Africa actually tends to face, and nothing really special or peculiar to just because they are leaders?
No, sorry, Ezekiel, no, that one is not it. The challenges a girl child face is to the girl child, is very peculiar to the gender. So we are not even talking about children now. We are being specific here. We are talking about the female gender, the girl child. Yes, their challenges are different. Let me just tell you sometimes some funny realities. Let's not go far. It happens a lot in our community where the girl child will be expected to drop out of school to work, to make money, to be able to pay her brother's school fees. So that, because she's a female, because she's that gender, she's the female gender, that is why she's actually put at that disadvantaged position. It is not because she's a young child like every other young child. No, the challenges for the girl child on the African continent is very peculiar. It is very, very, very sad where it is happening. Okay. I was recently, a friend of mine was telling me a story. The father actually took a loan, borrowed money from someone and could not pay back. Guess what he used to pay back his loan? He used his female child to pay back the loan. He has sons, but why didn't he even think of the son? Why the female child to pay back his loan? And the girl has been working in the house for years without having access to school, to education. Today, she's a young adult. She does not even know how to read ABC. That is just the fact because she is a female. And the fact that she's a female gender, it just kind of put her at a disadvantage. We have a lot of people that marry off their daughter at a young age. Why are they not marrying the boys? Why are they not marrying the boys? Are the boys not also children? So no, don't play that card on me. No, when we're talking about the girl child today, you see, we are celebrating the girl child. Please just leave it for us. It is the girl child we are talking about.
Of course,
let's be very specific. Yes.
but still on this table, one basic challenge for the Nigerian girl child is said to be access to educational opportunity, food. Are you with me?
Yes, she is.
I'm with you.
I was saying one basic challenge for the girl child stated in Nigeria is said to be access to educational opportunity, food, and nutrition. Educational opportunity, food, nutrition. Isn't this more like a challenge faced by every citizen in Nigeria? I mean, even the boys tend to, try to have access to education today, food and nutrition. Why must it make it more like a girl's thing and not more like it's more like a challenge every young adult, like I said, faces in Nigeria. At some point, even older adults, face challenge of food and nutrition, in all honesty.
Yeah, I agree with you. Yes, it is true. When you talk about food, yes, everybody is hungry. We don't have access to food. When we talk about nutrition, balanced diet, yes, you're correct. But when we talk about access to education, all of these challenges, yes, they exist. Everybody is facing it. But the question is, who are most exposed to some of these harsh realities?
I believe all citizens.
Oh yeah, it's Ezekiel. Yes, it's all citizens. But come on.
Okay.
Some of these girls are actually at a disadvantage.
So, out of curiosity, Dorcas, you've painted a scenario where a female child will be sent out to hawk and do other, I don't know if I should call it hard labor. But then, I mean, who do we blame these challenges on, or this discrimination on? Is it the parent or the society?
I think so. Over time, society and culture has actually framed how we react or respond, or how we make decisions about certain things. Yes, I remember I was having a conversation with someone and we were talking about child labor in rural communities, and I categorically stated that I don't think it is child labor because every family is trying to survive. Okay. But when one child has to sacrifice for another, I think that is where the discrimination comes in. That is where it is no longer survival for me. It is just like a target attack on this child. So when you talk about society, there is just this thing about the male child that our society has sort of how will I put it now? I'm looking for the right word. Our society has sort of elevated over the female child. Like they say, oh, the male child has certain opportunities or some certain graces that the female child necessarily does not have. When I'm talking about the story of the person actually being used to pay off loan, I'm not talking about something far. It is somebody I actually know. Because when she was sharing the story, it's a sad story for me. I was like, okay, the father had to use the child. I don't know. There's a part of Nigeria somewhere. I think south, somewhere there, where they talk about money wives. If you go, we don't have money husbands. We have money wives. If you go and read about money wives, you will be very, very heartbroken about how the female gender, the girl child, has been reduced into an object of business. It is very, very sad, and we don't get to see that with the male child. So sometimes, I don't know, over time, community tradition, and it has formed the way we respond and react and make choices or decisions about our girl child. And I think the parents are actually product of the society. So to answer your question, I will still throw it back that it is actually the society.
Okay, so back to our generation. We believe that time has evolved, so it's likely some things have actually changed. The girl's voice is being heard, but just maybe it hasn't gone farther. So for these people in the rural setting who have not really gotten to know about these technological development, or maybe they've known very little, I mean, how can we expand our programs to actually get to these ones who may have heard of, to those ones who are closed-ended? Because I mean, there are some persons that believe that their culture is their culture, and probably they wouldn't want to be open-ended to embrace these changes. So how do we reach out to these people?
It's simple. We still have to use education. We still have to use school. Our government just needs to prioritize ICT subjects in our schools. It is not enough to learn computer, because this one brings it home for me, because I work in the rural education sector. It's not enough to teach students about computers. We must create an enabling environment for them to actually practice their learning. We must be intentional about wanting to equip them with the right skills by granting them access to resources, to gadgets. These are things that, yes, our government should find a way to do it. And it is not enough to put computers in a school and just dump computers in a school without employing the right people to actually teach the student the skills. So when you're putting a computer or setting up a computer lab in a school in a remote area, ensure that you bring the right people to do it, to do the job. So we had a lot of people in rural communities that have never seen a computer, that have never used a computer. So this is not really talking about the girl child. Yes, the girl child's own problem is there. The gender digital gap is there. It is very, very wide. But in the quest to bridge this gap, we must be intentional about being strategic with our resources, with our educational opportunities. And the world is going global. The world is going digital. There is no job today. Over 90% of jobs today have a digital component. So we must be intentional about the kind of generation that we want to raise, particularly from the rural community or underserved community across the globe. So when we say we want to prioritize digital education or want to prioritize technology, we don't just say theoretically. We must put words, we must put action to our words. And when I mean by putting action to our work, equip the schools. Let the schools be well equipped. Let's get the right people, the right teachers, people that have the right skills into those schools to do their job. And I think that way we'll be able to create more opportunities for girls, and not just for girls, generally for rural communities or underserved community to have access to digital education.
You spoke about the girl child being on the disadvantage. It's making me wonder, what exactly are the factors that actually place the girl child on the platform of the disadvantaged? Is it because they are just born female, or are there things actually accumulate to them being an disadvantage in society?
Yeah, the fact that you're actually born female, sometimes you get opportunities are chosen over you because of your gender. That puts you at it. Yes, like the case, I will still boil down to the case of the boy child and the girl child, who have more opportunities or access to education. Who will drop out of school if there is no money to pay school fees, and who will be encouraged to continue?
The thing is, you're said to be in the Gen Z era, and if you would want to run your statistics, you would actually tend to find out that ladies are the more individuals in schools, higher educations, secondary schools, especially in Nigeria. Yeah. So when I don't think there is any organization. Are you with me?
Yes, I'm with you, Ezekiel. Primary school,
I'm coming. I don't think there is any organization where they will have a need for, say, for recruitment, and then have CVs or resumes from two persons, and they will just opt out to pick just the person from the resume from the guy, simply because she's the lady. So they would just decide to just dump her because she's a woman, and then pick that of the guy. I don't think there is any organization that actually does that, because people tend to work with competence and not just opportunities.
No, let me give you a funny story. Okay. So an acquaintance of mine, the wife got the job, and they were very, very excited about the job. But do you know what the job condition comes with? That she's not supposed to be pregnant for the next 2 years.
Wow.
Now the question is, what kind of job is that? Is it stressful? Is it labor exerting? Now, at that point, I guess they are worried as to her health and how she could actually deliver. So they could be in the right to actually say that. Not exactly because she's a woman.
I love the way you're looking at it from that angle. But it's not really about the stress. If the job was stressful, do you think she would have applied or opted for that job? She qualified, she deserved to be there. But that condition, that clause, this is somebody that is married, that you're telling her that for the next 2 years, she's not supposed to get pregnant. Why do you think that is? Why pregnancy? Why pregnancy?
I guess the question should be, is she capable of spending late hours at the office with say an 8-month pregnancy and all that? I don't think it's possible.
If you're pregnant and you give birth, you're supposed to go for maternity leave. So those are some of the factors they're actually looking at. So Ezekiel, sometimes the world is not fair, but we continue to push forward.
I guess the world is not fair to just anybody, not just the female.
No, it's not generally. So because we just have to work twice as hard as you will.
Okay, so talking about gender equality. So I want to ask, are you in support of that factor? And if yes, do you really think the female gender needs that? Now, considering these factors, that they might be under pressure, to meet up the societal standard, or probably think of competition. So are you in support of this gender equality thing, considering the fact that one might be under pressure to meet up a standard, or probably might see herself competing with the other gender? What's your take on this?
So personally, my opinion when it comes to the word equality is equity. I strongly believe so much in equity. I believe in fairness, because in the real sense, will we ever achieve equality? Are we ever going to get to that place where everything will be equal? We might never get to it. It's just a fight we'll continue to fight. But rather, why not push for equity, gender equity, where there is fairness? Let's work with fairness. And that is my own personal opinion when it comes to equality, irrespective of gender or otherwise, regardless of the context in which we are discussing. I stand for equity, because I believe that fairness is the way forward, because there will always be that gap. But how can we bridge that gap? Leveraging fairness, and that is what I stand for.
So as regarding equity and equality, comparing our present time with the past? I mean, do you think there's been a certain form of advancement so far, or are we rather going back in time?
Yes, we've come a long way. Yeah, we've come a long way. We are not where we want to be, but we are not where we used to be. I think there's been a lot of progress. There've been tremendous progress so far, and I think it's still a long walk into the future. So we are not where we used to be, and let's face the fact there've been serious. When I mean tremendous progress, yes, there've been tremendous progress in wanting to bridge the gap, and we are not where we used to be. So, but it's still a long way forward.
Okay, so earlier on you made mention of education, like educating the female child or the girl child. Now the question is, this education program, does it cover all angles? Because I mean, it's more like we're looking at the career pursuit aspect. Well, I mean, there are other areas like crisis management, marriage, I mean, social life, and other important life lessons. So when we talk about educating the girl child, is it just focused on career pursuit, or it covers all other areas?
So when we talk about education, really, education does not start and end in school. Every day is an opportunity to learn. So for an holistic education, I think it is, when I mean all round, and that we do it, you get to get education in school, in community, in your daily interaction with people. So I don't think so when you are talking about holistic education for the girl child, I think it is a system that revolves around community, institution, even the person. Even so, our education does not start in school. Actually, if you look at it in the real sense, our learning starts from the home, from our family. From our family, we go into society, from society into school. So I think there's always a role that every stakeholder needs to play, and we must be intentional about playing our roles effectively, be it in school, be it at home, or be it in community or institutions. So I think it is all of our responsibility to ensure that not just the girl child, even if we are focusing on the girl child, that every child actually have a holistic educational development.
All right.
At this point, it's safe to say technology is taking over and all that, talking about artificial intelligence and all that. Now, I tend to wonder, how best do you think as Nigerians, I want to bring it down to our country, how best do you think as Nigerians we could tend to encourage a girl child education generally, in technology and all that?
So let's come. I love this one. This is STEAM. This is what we're talking about, STEAM education. I think we need to encourage more girls to actually embrace STEAM careers or go into STEAM education. Right now, there's actually a very, very wide gap. It's just this cultural bias. I remember a friend was saying something that who said that a girl cannot understand mathematics or do courses like in engineering or do coding. There is no difference between the girl's brain and the boy's brain. It is just how you choose to develop your brain. And I think we need to encourage more girls to go into STEAM opportunities or STEAM careers by encouraging them and providing them safe spaces to actually put their learnings or their passion into test or into practice. And I think that way we could actually have more girls being represented, because I think STEAM career is one place where we have less female representation, and we need more girls to go into that that space. And one way to do it is from the schools. So if we start up STEM clubs in schools, it is not just STEM club by title, it is STEM club that we actually do STEM activities. We encourage students to create, to innovate, to provide solutions, to code, to build things. I think like the maker spaces, if we're able to have such spaces in our schools and encourage more girls' participation, just them coming alone and participating, you might never tell, you might just be igniting somebody's curiosity or passion towards adopting a STEM career.
Okay, so while you were speaking, something came to mind. Now, let's not forget, while advocating for the girl child, there are this set of persons we call the special people or the disabled. And we know that most of these people, they have tremendous potentials and are ready to deliver if given the opportunity. And as time evolves, we know that there are certain programs that are put in place for the girl child. So does it accommodate these special people, or it's just for the normal girl child, if I'm to say that?
No, I think STEM education is very, very inclusive. So inclusive regardless of your abilities or your inabilities. So there is nothing like, oh, this one is just for pupils or students who are very, very abled. So for me, how I see special need education is we could always work based on your pace and based on your abilities. What can you do? What are you interested in? How can we leverage your strengths to help you develop certain skills? So I think everybody is included when we talk about STEM opportunities. So it is not specifically for a certain group of people or certain people with certain abilities. As long as you have passion and there is a level of interest, you can always develop your skills. You can always acquire new skills through training. So there's nothing. And surprisingly, we have some pupils with special with disabilities who are doing amazingly well across field.
Now, one of the basic challenge or major challenge I believe won't go away just anytime real soon is the issue of early marriage that definitely leads to early pregnancy and all that, courtesy to our culture, basically in Nigeria, and then about other part of the world. I tend to wonder how best do you think we could overturn these cultural barriers?
You know, the greatest challenge of man is change. We don't want to change. That is just it. We don't like the word change. We can preach it and say we are very open to change. But let's start practicing the change. That is where you know that some people are very, 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 very closed up when it comes to change. Now, when you talk about early marriage, some culture actually embrace it. Some culture permits it. But is it actually right? Is it beneficiary to the girl child, the person in question? Because the girl seems to be at the disadvantage. How can we actually eradicate some of these biases or some of these cultural beliefs that is not favorable to the girl child? We continue to talk, we continue to do a lot of sensitization, we continue to put out our voices out there. The truth is, so, I said this story the last time I was there, and I will still share the story again. I said I was working in a particular community and I had this girl who loves to read, who really wants to go to school. But her parents insisted that it was time for her to get married. And they married her off. It was sad. It was really, really an heartbreaking situation for me because I could see her passion for school. I saw her love for education. She really, really wanted to go to school. But culture and religion did not allow her. But as we are pushing for more girls to go to school, from that same community, I still have girls of our own same age who are in school. Today, they are in secondary school. We were unable to save that one girl, but through consistent engagement with the community, at least I have about 4 of them around that same age that they're actually in secondary school today. So it is not, you cannot just wake up and say we cancel it, it is not going to work. It is something that has to do with the mindset, it's something that has to do with somebody's belief and faith. So it's a gradual work. So we continue to advocate, we continue to speak up, and if there is a need to fight it, we will continue to fight, because I know a lot of organizations are out there that are working to fight and protect the girl. But in a situation whereby the child herself says, oh no, I don't want to fight my parents, what will you do? You can't do anything.
Okay, so this leads us to the issue of emotional intelligence. We know that the girl child especially, has a lot of things to handle emotionally, and sometimes they don't know how to actually make these decisions. So how best can we assist these people or this set of gender to be able to maintain a good brain hygiene for better performance?
So let me start with you. Thank you that you are the person that asked the question, and I'm also going to throw it back to you. So in your community, do you have young teenage girls? Do you have girls in your community around your streets? Have you thought of mentoring some of them? So the important thing, I think we need to create that that cycle. Today we're having this conversation because we are more enlightened. We know better. We have some girls who don't know better. We need to create that bridge for knowledge. You don't have to be a female to do this. You can take interest in one girl on your street and decide to be that big sister or be that good mentor to that person by educating the person, by empowering the person with knowledge. And you'll be amazed how the person is going to blossom and become the very best version of themselves. Sometimes we make choices because we don't know better. If we know better, we will make better informed choices. And the truth is, the best way to actually bridge that knowledge gap is to create that bridge where there is a flow of knowledge. There's a constant flow of knowledge and exchange of ideas. So we can start by encouraging community mentorship. I don't expect you to go out and gather all the girls in your community. You can start from one girl. And from one girl, you're actually changing a community. From one girl that you're talking to, from one girl you're mentoring, she has friends. She's also going to be sharing these new ideas, these new ideologies with her friends. Her friends is also going. So it creates like a ripple effect. But it just starts from one girl. So we just need to be more intentional about sharing and educating the girl child.
Now, in every situation, we definitely at some point need the support of the government or from the government. So far in Nigeria, do you think the government has been actually doing just enough, away from the personal sensitization and community sensitization and all that? Do you think the government actually putting just enough efforts and fundings into promoting girl child education, and girl child rights generally in Nigeria?
I think they can do better. Yes, and when we talk about government, they can do better. They can never do enough. There is so much they need. They see, the truth is, we'll continue to point fingers at them. Today, I didn't want to point fingers at them. I just want to focus on we, the community, we, the people, because we, the community, we make up the government. We are the ones that elect the people in power. So even during the election, we must be intentional about the people who we want to represent our interests or represent us in places of authority. We need to put policies in place. It is not enough to develop policies, but we must ensure that we create systems for effective implementation of some of these policies we put in place. Sometimes we just say this one, but we need to put it, we need to give action, we need to give life to our words. Are they doing well? They are doing, but can they do better? Yes. They need to do better. They need to do better. There is so much they need to do. So, and it starts from us, we the community people. We must be intentional about the people we choose to represent us and what are their interests. Hope their interests also align with our interests as a people and as a community. So,
Okay, so talking about us as a people, I mean, I've had several persons I've communicated with who have taken up this issue of helping out, all right, probably where the government aren't responding, and most of them say they've written asking for assistance. Now they've started something, but they need that support, and to an extent they're not getting it. So at this point, I mean, what would one do? Do they give up, or do they still keep writing and not getting response?
Will you give up? Why will you give up?
Just asking.
Why did I'm just asking because I work in the social space, so I can relate with what you just shared. So I'm just wondering, why give up? Why did you start in the first place? What is your why? So the reason why I do what I do is not really whether or not I get support. It's because it's all about the big why. And sometimes when I am at the rock bottom, when I hit the ground and when the things are going tough, I remind myself of my big why. Don't worry, just keep doing. They will come around. Sometimes they just want to see whether truly you're serious about what you're doing. I remember one of my mentors told me something once. They said, if you want to seek support, you can write. They can decline and decline. But he said something, he said, just focus on what you're doing. One day somebody is going to see what you're doing and come and say, okay, we would like to work with you. So a lot of big organizations today that we see that actually have like a certain form of partnership with the government, or they are working with the government, it was not the first knock that opened the door. So you just need to be consistent and persistent, consistent in what you're doing and persistent in pushing for that support, pushing for that partnership. Because the truth is, when you have government partnership or you have government support for what you do, it grants you access. It grants you access to a lot of things. Like you have access to the people, you have access to certain resources. It might not be monetary resources. It might be access to maybe the venue, might be access to people. So when you go to places, nobody will be saying we cannot do this program because of this, that. So I just want you to, whoever is listening and you're thinking, oh, I've gotten to the crossroad, I want to give up, please don't. Just be consistent and persistent. Be consistent in what you're doing. Keep pushing. And never forget to remind yourself about why. Why did you start? What is that why? Your why factor. Why did you actually go into this place? Why are you doing what you're doing? If you have a very clear why, I think your why will keep you motivated and keep you going. And then you remain persistent in knocking to get that support. Sometimes support does not just come easily. When the support comes, it will come.
Now, you spoke about organizations that tend to have this a sense of bias when it comes to the female folk. I tend to wonder, just how exactly do you think we could tend to curtail or curb these sort of situations?
Hey, that one. We will continue to call them out. Because
on social media?
Let's see. Thank God for technology. You can use social media. You can use traditional media. Do you know a lot of reforms, a lot of institutional reforms have happened because somebody started a trend on Twitter to call out a particular organization? You will agree with me. You are in the media space. A lot of things, and through social media, some certain issues have gotten certain level of attention just from social media. So that is one way we will continue to advocate, we'll continue to call them out. But the truth is, what can the government do? What policies can the government put in place to ensure that female are actually protected in the workplace, that labor rights is respected? And it is not enough. It is not enough to put the policies or to develop these policies. I will state it again. It is also important that we develop systems to ensure that these policies are implemented. That if a certain person is actually being discriminated against because of their certain gender, there should be institutions to protect my rights. I should be able to go to a particular place and lay my complaint and complain and say, okay, this is what I'm actually going through, and I should have the system or the support or the resources to fight this. Most times in institutions, when employees are treated badly, we don't even know where to go to. We don't even know who to fight. When you think of you want to fight these people, when you think about the cost, you just say, let peace be, let me just go. But if we have institution or system that could actually ensure that our rights are protected, I'm not talking just generally about the female gender, generally as employees, I think it will go a long way. And it is not just putting policy on paper. You know, sometimes there are laws that protect our rights that we are not even aware of as citizens.
I guess that is actually pointing to my next questions. Concerning our constitution as citizens, do you think our constitutions and policy tend to protect the girl child and the female folks? Wholesomely?
On paper. On paper.
On paper?
Ezekiel, I've been saying something. Nigeria. We don't need to develop new policies. If you look at our policies, we are well protected, we are well guided. But the problem is, are we implementing it? So it is not just we have policies, we have beautiful policies, we are protected on paper, we are well guided, we are safe. But we just need systems, we just need institutions to implement these policies.
All right, I think at this point, Sam's really posing a constraint for us. So, quickly, what would be your parting words to the young girl out there, hoping to be a medical doctor and nurse, or probably a pilot at some point, and your words to the government generally?
Okay, to the girl child out there, keep pushing, keep dreaming. Don't allow anything to hold you back. You can be what you want to be. You are more and much more. Never forget that.
And to the government?
To the government, please, beyond developing policy, please put systems in place for effective implementations of these policies.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dorcas.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you so much for having me. Yeah, you too. Bye.
Bye.
All right, viewers, you heard it all. There's a saying in Hausa that says, "Mbaku ba dunia." Simply means if there's not a girl or a woman, then there's not a world. And I think it's true because I really believe women tend to be the pillar in every household. Talk about our moms, talk about our sisters. So, oh, come on now, you're blushing. Talk about her, talk about Kareen, of course. So at this point, I really hope we give the girl child the full support they need in order to grow at every aspect in life. I know there's a woman who actually tends to curtail the issue of early marriage. There is no harm, waiting for the right time, the right age and all that. At this point, of course, the wrap will be handing over to the We'll have so much more for you. I remain Ezekiel Ogar.
And I'm Kareen Edet.